Child, if you want my live reaction videos back to back in almost an obsessive way, go and check out my TikTok, honey. But I'm back, and we are going to be talking about Love is Blind, season 6, the first 6 episodes. If you guys are new here, my name is Ashley, and this is my sweet perspective where I give my take on all things TV and movie related, honey. If it's out, I'm watching it or about to watch it, and you can find all that good tea here, okay? So if that's your speed, feel free to hit that like button, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join the family. Okay, let's get right into it. And I figured the best way to approach this, because again, I watched all 6 episodes and I'm not going to do an episode by episode review, was to go couple by couple, and I will talk about kind of their journey, right? And all of the feelings I had. Again, if you want my live reactions, go to my TikTok at my sweet perspective, and you'll see, honey, you'll see all of it. Because I was in my feelings, I was up, down, roller coaster. It was a thing. Let's start out Jimmy and Chelsea. Now, also spoilers, okay, guys. So if you have not finished it, the first 6 episodes, come back, but click off for now because it's going to be spoiler filled. But okay, so Jimmy and Chelsea. Honey, Chelsea told that man she looked like Megan Fox. And he lost his ever-loving mind. Okay, so let's start. Jimmy, aka Weird Science, because to me, he looks like the guy from Weird Science. Check it out, because I do think it's a very strong resemblance, okay? And so Jimmy starts out, and my initial impression of Jimmy was, okay, I like Jimmy. I thought Jimmy was authentic and genuine. He definitely came across that way to me. But honestly, I thought Jimmy was going to choose Jessica. Now, Jessica, I believe, is the only one on the cast who had a child. She has a 10-year-old daughter named Autumn. And so immediately his 2 connections were Chelsea and Jessica. Now, Jessica was more direct and to the point. And I think she was more intentional, right? I think she had a more full personality versus Chelsea, who, and someone put it in the comments, I had mentioned that she cried all the time. She cried about things she had no business crying about. She was crying or laughing. And I think, I don't know why, but for some reason, the men kind of enjoyed that. And I don't know if it was the lack of depth or maybe because she was so amenable, in every conversation. I don't know, but yeah, because she rubbed me the wrong way initially too. My initial impression of Chelsea was kind of like that people pleaser, very bendy, very kind of let me show you what you want to see rather than showing up as my authentic self. And I think we see that develop through these 6 episodes. But Jimmy liked Jessica, but Jessica was like, listen, if we're together, I'm going to police your Instagram. Okay. You're not going to be able to do that. Basically, I want you to tell me you love me and that you want to be with me. I'm pouring a lot into this. Okay. And I think when she also was like, I don't want to hear about you and other women. It's kind of pissing me off. And he basically told her, like, I'm not going to tell you I love you and then tell another woman I love them. I want to make sure that it's right. And I mean, she kind of went like, well, you figure it out. And once you figure it out, you come and tell me. And I think that her level of directness, but also honestly, you guys, I think what it really was with Jessica was the baby. I don't think Jimmy was willing to take that on. I don't. I think it was really off-putting for him. And I honestly, I wasn't mad at his reaction when she told him, because I think it was like a lot to kind of take. Especially because, they kind of already developed a connection by then. But I think when she spazzed about the last thing, I think the Instagram saying that she needed to be the one he was only attracted to or whatever she said. I was like, girl, you can't police this grown man's Instagram. Let the man like what he want to like on Instagram. What's that got to do with you? That part really behooved me. And so ultimately he picks Chelsea. Now, like I said, Chelsea told him she looked like Megan Fox. Chelsea don't look like Megan Fox. Maybe. So here was the thing. I thought that Chelsea kind of favored, there's an aspect of her that gives, I guess, a part of Megan Fox. But I guess if like Megan Fox and Natalie Nunn That was the combo that came into my head. Chelsea's not ugly by any stretch of the imagination, but Megan Fox, she is not. Okay, so Chelsea had Jimmy and she really liked him, but I really felt like it was a superficial connection. Like, it didn't feel deep or meaningful or like magical at all to me. I felt like she actually had a better match with Trevor. Now, Trevor is AKA Mullet, okay? And honestly, initially, the impression I got of Trevor wasn't great because I don't, self-proclaimed good guys, that always is a red flag for me. Alas, I was incorrect because that's a good man, Savannah, okay? Trevor was a good man and he would have loved Chelsea and her dirty draws. He really would have. I'm thoroughly convinced that she would have not, had to deal with what she's had to deal with post them choosing each other or whatever. But no, Trevor was into her. He made it clear and evident there was no other person for him. And I honestly feel, based on Chelsea's level of insecurity, the crying at the dropping of a hat, not feeling wanted or desired in her past relationships that she alludes to in like the little confessionals or when she's talking to the other ladies, Trevor would have gone a long way to help that. But honestly, I think Chelsea needs to get that together for herself before embarking on any kind of journey like that, like this. Like, sis, you got to love you. Okay. You got to love you, or you're going to live in perpetual insecurity with anyone you choose, even a guy as good as Trevor, right? And so ultimately she decides to pick Jimmy. And like Trevor asked, what did you pick him because he asked you to marry him first, or because you love him more? I don't know. And even in that, Trevor was gracious. I think he voiced his hurt in a gentlemanly manner. He was direct. He told her how he felt, but he also didn't shame her for her choice. And I really, really respected that. I'm team Trevor all day. Trevor's deserving of a good woman because that's a good man, Savannah. Okay. So ultimately Chelsea chooses Jimmy. And again, Jimmy thinks she looks like Megan Fox and that she's going to be docile. Now, this was one of the only couples when, after the proposal, because of course he proposes to her, comes out there. This was one of the only proposals where I felt like the attraction was not there. Like, it was like he looked at her, and even when they hugged, he was looking all around. I was like, Jimmy, what you looking around for, weird science? What are you looking around for? Yeah, it just doesn't give. And so later on the honeymoons, honey, they're out there, and even on the way, he's like, I'm trying to see AD. Where's AD at? Where's AD? And I'm like, why is he so pressed about AD? He's like, Clay was my dude, blah, blah, blah. Get there, honey. And they see AD. He sees AD with the bam, boom, pow. And he's like, oh, she looked good. She looked good. And so he's telling, Chelsea, she's stacked. And so Chelsea, being kind of dingy, is like, girl, how you get a butt like that? Da, 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 da. And I'm thinking, you yelled that across the room and make the introduction. So now, honey, weird science grinning and skinning all in AD's face. But Jimmy just don't like Chelsea. I mean, it didn't matter who it was, honestly. But I mean, Chelsea's a beautiful girl, honey. And the insecurity. And so even after she did that and she makes the uncomfortable statement, does all the things, Chelsea sits up mad the rest of the night because she feels like Jimmy, weird science, was all in AD's face, and he was. I guess this was the most appropriate time to cry. Next, Britney and Kenneth. Now, theirs was easy because they immediately connected with one another. Kenneth is a 25-year-old principal, and Britney is a teacher. And so it seemed like a logical pair. Britney is from the Deep South, and I liked Britney. I thought Britney had a very pleasing disposition, a pretty girl. They both connected on faith. They're both Christian, and both are wanting to wait for marriage. And so I think it was prime time, a great choice. Kenneth seems like he's going to be a good leader, a strong leader of the home. He seems like he's going to love and adore her. I mean, it gives, right? My only pause with this, because I do want them to work, is the race thing. And it wouldn't be so much of a thing, except she asks about it. She wants to know what race he is. And she's like, oh, he says he identifies as, I'm like, no, sis, he's a black man. That's okay. And then, you know, my thing is this. People are not as progressive as we would all like. And so I think when you're delving into the realm of interracial relationships, you have to be mindful of it. Does it have to weigh you down, and does it have to prevent the relationship from going forward? No, but is there an awareness that one has to have to be in a successful interracial relationship and do it justice? I absolutely believe so. And I also believe that the fact that she feels as though it's not an issue or not something she needs to think about is a bit naive. Okay. In addition to that, she made a statement, and it was very off-putting to me. She says, you know, well, I won't always look like this. I'll get old one day. And my thing is, sis, that doesn't relate. He's going to always be black. Period. And there's nothing you can do about that. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about the acceptance of him in her family in a very Southern place. And then her lack of, I don't want to say understanding, but just not having her mind ready for the possible or potential impact of that. You know what I mean? But again, I'm praying for them. I hope the best for them. I think they are connected positively in so many ways. My hope is that she just genuinely loves him and likes him, you know, and that they can make it work wherever they are. That's my hope for them. Next, we have Jeremy and Laura. And Jeremy was a funny guy. But I didn't think aesthetically Laura was going to be his judge, but apparently it worked out. They're both aligned. They both, I think, hated Christmas. They want to develop their own traditions. She was, what's the word I want to think for? Because she wasn't bad, but to me, she just didn't, I don't know. I didn't really connect with her when they were in the pods. I was like, okay, she's a little bit brash. You know what I mean? But maybe that fits his personality, because he says that's his person. But honey, when they get to the honeymoon after that dinner, he said he's ready to go home. So I don't know how that's going to play out. He did have another interest, I think Sarah Ann. And I don't know if she aligned, because she was very conservative, and I don't know what his political leanings are. They didn't really get into that. But we'll see. I think he would have probably been more attracted to Sarah Ann, but we'll see. I do think it was weird that Laura had wanted him to play with AD's boobs. I didn't get that part. And why she said it to him, and then why he would have repeated it. I don't know. Next, we have Johnny and Amy. And this is probably my favorite couple, the most unproblematic couple that I saw. And there's only one little thing I don't like as it relates to Amy, but I think Johnny's a stand-up guy. I feel like he's in it to win it. He seems to really be into Amy. Again, they had one of those kind of immediate connections. And I like Amy as well. My only issue with Amy is that she keeps bringing up her previous preference, which is ethnic men. And I'm like, sis, that ain't what you got. So why are we continuing to bring it up? Is it a problem for you? You know, that's my concern. And that's really my concern for him. Because I think he's going to be good to Amy. I think if she can get past him not being her type, they'll probably work out. Now, yeah, probably the most problematic couple for me. And I didn't want it to be, but I need my sis AD to make better life choices, because this was a disaster. Now, I will preface this by saying, when we first meet AD in the pods, she says, normally when I see a red flag, I paint my nails red to match. Like, she's all into a red flag. Okay. And I don't think she could have got any more red flaggier than the two people that she vibed with the most, which were Matthew and Clay. Now, Matthew, initial impression, really bad. Okay. Because Matthew was walking out on people. Do you hear me? Matthew was like, oh, you're talking too long. Let me get out of here. Matthew would be like, deuces. Matthew would be like, I have a list of questions. Pick a number. They'd answer it and they'd say, well, how about you? Oh, well, I wasn't intending on answering the question. So, again, he starts out abrupt, very socially awkward, and come to find out, I think Matthew was there really about the TV, really about the cameras. As much as he protested it and said, I'm not here for that, towards the end, it became evident that that was probably his real reason for being here. Okay. And so he goes on, but he eventually connects with AD, and his whole tone changed, his whole mood changed, his whole personality changed. And I was like, well, maybe I was wrong, because I can be wrong, and I am fine with saying when I'm wrong. Okay. That's what humility looked like. And so, they get there, and he is, saying all the right things. And so she's enamored of him. Okay. And he's like, you're the only one. Where's your daddy at? I'm trying to meet him. She's like, well, he passed. Well, I wanted to ask him for your hand because we could go today. Like, I want you. Girl, AD gets back to the pods, and Amber kind of had an odd personality too. It was like she was always like, well, he likes me. I don't know. It gave something I don't think she intended it to give. But yeah, Amber was something. But they get back, and Amber's like, oh, Matthew's my strongest connection. He said this. And AD's like, he said the same exact thing to me. And so she gets back, lets him have it, lets him know. And he's like, no, I didn't say the same things. And you have other guys that you like. I'm just trying to kind of figure it out. But you're really the one. If I had to make a choice today, it'd be you. She goes back to the pods, honey. And she tells Amber, and Amber's like, well, I'm just going to remove myself because clearly he wants you. Well, why does she do that? Because when AD gets back in the pods, Matthew's having a whole hissy fit, honey. He's hurt, feelings hurt, crying. And AD's like, are you crying about me? Or are you crying about Amber? He's like, I think I'm crying about Amber. And he's like, well, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to leave. And gets back to the pods with the guys. And he's like, I got to go get Amber. Played in everybody's face. So my correct intuition, discernment about Matthew was correct. So enter Clay. Now Clay was her connection the whole time too, but when he finds out that she's into Matthew, he spazzes. Red flag number one. And it's like, how could you compare me to him? Who is he even? Like, I don't even know who he is, blah, blah, blah. And then, his bouts of crying, Clay's over reactions, over emotionalism gives me pause. Okay, because he spazzed in and out. He yelled. It was just bad, but apparently AD liked it. And they grow closer. I don't know how. Eventually Clay ends up, spouting scripture, and I guess it does what it needs to do for her, because now they're in love. And he proposes, and she says yes. Maybe it's just about being chose. Maybe it's about being chose, because there was nothing to me about Clay that screamed, I want to be in a relationship with you, or I want to marry you. Because he seems slightly unhinged to me. Is it the edit? Is it really him? Y'all let me know in the comments below. But you guys, that pretty much my thoughts on the first 6 episodes. I'll be back, the 21st is when we get the next set, and we'll talk about it more in depth. Like I said, if you want the play-by-play, go on over to TikTok at My Sweet Perspective, and you'll see all that. But if you're still here after almost 20 minutes, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video.